Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to share some forms to protect your home daycare business. So the first form that I have is a child pickup authorization form. So as childcare providers, we are never allowed to release any child from our care to any person without the written consent of the parent or guardian. So this will just have the person who's picking up the child on what date. Usually the state requires the person's address and their phone number. I also have on this form if this is for a one-time pickup or if this is for recurring pickup. And I also have if there are any individuals who are never allowed to pick up the child from home daycare. The next form that I have is a photo/video release form. So as childcare providers, we love to take pictures and videos of the children, but we are not always allowed to do that unless we have the consent of the parent or guardian. And especially we are never allowed to post pictures of children on any social media unless the parent or guardian has agreed to that. The next form is an accident report. So accidents do happen and you always want to keep these things documented for yourself, for the state, and for the parent. So I like to have the child's name, the date that it happened, the time, where it happened, how did the accident happen, what was the first aid given, or what was my response. Also, was the guardian contacted? Who was the guardian that was contacted? I'll write any additional information. And then I will have the parent sign this and I will keep this in my files. The next one that I have is an all about your child packet. So this is jam-packed with a bunch of questions that I love to have the parent or guardian fill out. It will have things like, does the child have any siblings? What's your child's personality like? Have they been in childcare before? Was childcare terminated for any reason? Does your child have a regular bedtime schedule? So let's say the child is coming in and they're really fussy and their behavior is not the best. Maybe they're not getting a good amount of sleep at night. Does your child have any known healthcare problems? Any allergies? Have they had any of the following communicable diseases? Chickenpox, mumps, measles. Does your child take any medications? Do they have any indications of hearing or vision problems? Also, if the child has any physical or mental disabilities, and then any additional information that the parent or guardian wants to let us know about their child. And I love having this packet on file because it's written in the words of the parent or guardian, and it's just a nice extra piece of protection for us as childcare providers. The next form is a medical/non-medication consent form. So a medical form is anything like a prescription or over-the-counter medications if you're going to be MAT certified. And then a non-medication consent form is anything like ointments, bug repellents, sunscreens, and anything of that nature. So personally with my form, I just have the medical and the non-medication consent form in one, but also your state should have a form like this as well. The next form that I have is a daily report sheet. So at the end of the day, it can be really hectic with all the parents coming in and then trying to get all the children out. A lot of times parents or guardians, they have a lot of questions. Did the child take a nap? Did they eat? How much did they eat? So this form is going to provide the parents with the date. It's going to let them know what they ate, at what time. Did they use the bathroom? Did they have a wet or dirty diaper? Did we play indoors or outdoors? What was the reading for today? How was the child's mood? Were they happy or sad or tired? I also like to leave comments for the parents, let them know what time their child napped. And then I also have on here if the child is low on any diapers, wipes, clothes, or anything else. And then I also like to share the best part of the child's day. And this is such a great form to have because it's letting the parent or guardian know what the child is doing throughout the day. It's giving them peace of mind. It's quickening things up for us at the end of the day. And it's also a great way to keep your line of communication open with the parent or guardian. The next form is a termination notice. So this is to inform parents that we are terminating care, but it's also a form if the parent or guardian wants to terminate care with us, we can just have it written and store this in our files. So this will just say who's terminating care, the daycare provider or the parent or guardian. And it will have some reasons for termination. Maybe they found another childcare, maybe they no longer need childcare, or maybe we are terminating the care because of late payment, non-payment. Maybe they are violating the policies. Maybe we're having differences, or maybe the child's behavior or other. And then I just like to get this form signed and store this in my files. The next form that I have is a napping and sleeping arrangement. So the state is typically going to want us to have a form like this signed by the parent or guardian. And this form will just state where the child will be sleeping. So will they be sleeping in a bed, a mat, a cot, a crib, a pack and play, and then also stating the room of where the child is going to be sleeping. Also, the state is typically going to want to know how you're going to be supervising the children while they're sleeping. So are you going to be right in the same room as the child while they're sleeping? Or will the child be sleeping in a room on the same floor and there will be some kind of monitor that you're watching? I also like to let the parents know that we are required to place the child on their back to sleep. The next form is an infant feeding schedule and agreement, and the state is typically going to want something like this on file as well. So this is just going to state if the child is going to be drinking breast milk or formula, who's going to be providing that, who's going to be providing the solid foods, and then the state is also going to want a written feeding schedule. So what time they're eating, what they're eating, any instructions, and the amount that they're eating as well. And then the parent or guardian, they can just sign this and we keep this in our parent folders. The next form that I have is a late payment notice. So it can be a little bit awkward to let parents know that they're late on payment. So maybe you'll want to send this home with the child's daily report sheet, or maybe you have a daily or weekly folder that you send home with the child. I personally like to send a text message to the parent or guardian and communicate that way. But if a parent isn't paying us for childcare, as childcare providers, that's just something that we don't want to have to deal with. So a late payment notice or letting the parent know in some way is really important. The next form that I have is a parent communication log. Now this is a log that we keep for our files, and we will just write the date and the time and the reason that we're contacting the parent and what we spoke about. So let's say the child is hitting or biting other kids in daycare and you have to have a meeting and speak to the parent about it. You can just log that in here. If a parent is not paying you and it's happened multiple times, you can just keep a log of this and just know what's going on between you and the parent or guardian. Should in case you ever have to terminate care, you can refer back to this log. And then the last form that I have is a supply list. So children do get low or they run out of things, and if the parent or guardian doesn't bring those things to childcare, then us as childcare providers, we're going to have to provide those things for the child. So this will just have the child is low or out of the following items: diapers, wipes, ointment, formula, sunscreen, bug repellents, anything else, and we can just send this home with the parents so that we can avoid the child running out of things while they're in care. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm going to link all these forms for you guys down in the description below, and as always, I hope that you all have a blessed day and a blessed week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!